You've got a bit of the Jason Dunstall's about you for me, Brad. In that, this is in that you're the greatest to ever play. No, in that
kick 1,000 goals.
Yeah, well, like because you are so at home in the media and you it's such a part of, I guess, a generation of knowing who you are. There'd be people listening to this who don't know actually how good you were. But yeah, as I said at the start, you were an All-Australian 6 times, which is. I don't. Do you know how many people have been 6-time All-Australians?
No, I couldn't tell you. Not too many though, I don't think.
And then you were right. You're in the team of the century for the Dogs, and then you were the leading goal kicker, I think, for the Dogs 5 times as well.
The team of the century was an interesting one though at the Dogs. So I was young when they put me in.
Yeah.
So
how old were you? Like you would have been.
I might have been 21. Maybe.
You're in the team of the century for the Dogs at 21.
I could have been. I would be able to look up when it was actually released, that team. I'm not sure. I might have been a little bit older, but still. I was on the bench because I was the youngest by a fair way. There was a bit of conjecture around my inclusion in that.
If social media,
because I'd started to come on in the game, but I hadn't really set the world on fire yet.
Tom and I are no good at footy. When you played footy and you would be the leading goal kicker for a team and be a genuine like gun who knows how to kick goals. What can you express what that feels like? Did you ever go into games feeling like I'm going to be great today, or was it always a hope? I hope, and then you would figure it out.
It's probably a combination of both.
Yeah.
Sometimes you went in knowing exactly who your opponent would be, and if the midfield got it right, you knew you'd have a reasonable day.
Yeah.
There were times that you're a bit surprised by your opponent, and you wouldn't have prepared as well because you didn't expect them, so they might get you every now and then. But most of the time, because of the way, because I'm not a big guy, I had to prepare, and I had to prepare for the tall and the small, depending who I played on. And I knew my preparation was the most important thing, to expose my opponent the best possible way that I could. And that's how I went into every single week. So I knew exactly what the opponent didn't like really doing, and I would take them there consistently. So if I was on a bigger guy, I'd get up the ground, run him back, knowing that endurance-wise he wouldn't be able to go with me. And if I'm on a smaller guy, I take him to the goal square, and you know that they weren't that keen, but if they stood in front, I knew what to do. If they were right-hand dominant spoil, I knew to stand on the other side. So all little things that you had to learn about your opponents back in the day that would set you apart, because that gives you the confidence to jump out there knowing that, hey, this is going to be full on today, but I know I'm going to be okay.
What I'm hearing is that, like, you know that you can kick goals, like you know how to do that, but the challenge of a football game is what conflict or what barricades the other team is going to put up against you.
That's right.
It's opponent based as opposed to team based almost.
Which is more team based now. Like it's team defense where and we came through in a real sweet spot, I think, where it was me v you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And whoever was better on the day, better prepared. So, and we relied on our team, like I relied on our mids and backs a fair bit, but I knew their game, my own teammates' games that well, that I knew that if Rowan Smith got it, he was going to reel and kick it to there, and I just knew that where to pop up or where to move first to get that meter on my opponent. Or Scott West would reel left every single time, and kick it 25 metres. So I knew that had to be. So you just knew everything about the main players in your team that were consistently getting the ball that would be able to deliver it to you.
Who was the best player you ever played with?
Oh, Chris Grant was the best in terms of his skill and his freakish ability, what he could do left and right. Phenomenal player.
Full forward or a centre-half forward, Chris Grant?
So he was a centre-half forward and centre-half back. He should have won the Brownlow as a centre-half back.
Yeah.
And just missed that due to a dodgy suspension late. So he missed that opportunity. So he was a gun. Scotty West won 7 best and fairest during that period. So he was just a worker, like a seriously just grunt, tough.
I remember when he
inside midfielder.
Came to the D's as a coach after he retired.
Yeah, that's right.
I remember being just so wrapped with that.
Yeah.
I remember he's not talked about enough anymore, really.
No, that's it. And that's the nature of it, isn't it? We all get a little bit older and
you're done.
we slide out the back.
I want to talk, just talking about your whole career, I'm thinking of all those players, and the thing that comes to my mind the most is that year that you beat the Bombers in the year
2000.
And I would have been 11 and at school, and everyone's saying no one's going to beat the Bombers, and then the Dogs won, and at primary school, in mentality in primary school, it was like, well, now they're going to win the flag. Do you remember what happened that week, or like what the
it was a massive week. Like, we had Terry Wallace was our coach, and he walked into the change rooms on the Monday morning, and he called it Mission Possible because everyone thought it was impossible.
No one could beat them.
That was our theme. It was a Mission Impossible theme the whole week, but we just made it possible. So we went and trained.
Very 2000s of you, by the way.
Big time.
The second one's about to come out or has just come out.
So we went and trained at Werribee for the entire week.
You didn't want them to see you?
No, so because we were working on this mass flood where we were just going to put everyone behind the ball and just restrict their scoring. And just stay in the game as long as we possibly could.
Was flooding happening?
No.
So you invented the flood.
Well,
it's your fault.
No, floods had happened, but not to this extent. Like you'd flood with maybe 2 or 3 back.
Chuck a few back.
But not the entire team. It was literally the entire team was behind the ball.
You can tell you wanted to win because you were willing to go to Werribee.
Yeah, that's exactly. That's a really good point.
We'll go hang out in Werribee.
What ground will have us for a week just to practice these tactics? And he sold it to us and we all bought in. And so we started that game and we all sort of went behind the ball and things were working out okay. I remember at quarter time, a couple of Bombers players were sort of like, what are you boys up to today? We threw something at them that they didn't expect.
Yeah.
And so we went, we played well for 3 quarters doing it. And we were down by 20 points, I think it was at 3/4 time. So
they were still ahead. They were still kicking goals.
Still kicking goals, but it wasn't a massive blowout that it possibly could have been. Because that year, Essendon was scoring between 100 and 140 points every week. Like they were dominating. I'm not sure what we held them to that day, but I'm pretty sure it was under 100.
They're in the premiership window for on the couch. They would be.
Offense, defense, they're sitting right there. That would have blown that window apart. So 3/4 time, Terry Wallace brings us in 3/4 time and he says, look, we've done this flood the whole game. We're going to try and win now. So we went back to our normal play. It was just fast attack and try and outscore them. And we caught them off guard a little bit early in that last quarter because they were probably setting up for the flood and we just went whack and normal positions. And we got back into the game and then Chris Grant kicked a beauty from the pocket on his left, got us in front. Smitty kicked one, Rowan Smith kicked one after the siren. We win by 7 points. It was amazing. It really was.